A couple months ago, my pastor briefly shared a passage that everyone is familiar with, John 1:1, which is, "In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God." But his breakdown of the verse was actually a little less generic, as he explained that one day there was this guy called Word. Word decided to chill with God, and after a while, this guy Word became like God. And he used this anecdote to explain that Christianity is all about relationships, and that we should spend time chilling with God, just like the guy Word did, so that we become more Christ-like in the end. Now, this revelation led me to my own conclusions about ministry and walk, that religion isn't a bad thing, but we should concentrate more on relationships. Ephesians 4:11 says that he gave some gifts, he gave some pastors, leaders, preachers, teachers, apostles, for the perfecting of the saints, for the building of the church and the edifying of the kingdom. And then in verse 15 it says, growing in every way more and more like Christ, who is the head of his body and the church. So these gifts that he gave us was actually to perfect the saints, but also so in the end we become more and more Christ-like. And if you go back to that beginning, the perfecting of the saints, you can't perfect anything, be it a skill, a hobby, or anything you put your mind to, unless you spend time with it, unless you invest quality time into it. So likewise, if we want to perfect the saints, we need to spend time building relationships with the saints. And sometimes as Christians, we get caught up with the idea of introducing souls to church rather than introducing them to Christ. Paul says in a number of different areas in the New Testament, he says, follow my example as I follow Christ. Now, in essence, what he's saying is that even if you never get to access a Bible, it's fine, because I am a living example, I am a living testament of its doctrines, which means that we need to introduce Christ into people's lives by having a real connection with people, that they may see Christ in our lives. And I'm a genuine believer in this, as the anointed person who introduced me to Christ back when I was 17 and could make my own sort of conscious decisions. Is someone who I happened to spend a lot of time with, enough so that I was encouraged to be more like him, and curious enough to build my own personal relationship with God. Therefore, I literally became an embodiment of John 1:1, being that guy Word. I chilled with somebody who knew God for himself, and through that interaction became a new creation, transformed to his image, as I also wanted to become like him and have my own relationship with God. And that's why bad company can corrupt good morals, because two cannot walk together unless they are in agreement, and you will conform to the image of the relationships around you. Christ came to re-establish God's relationship with man, as we had become so unintentionally deeply religious, putting our faith in things and not in God. And actually, one day, quite recently, I was in a very, very dark season. I had backslidden to the point that I had stopped attending church and had lost almost all communication with God. And in this time, my church family, who are generally great, fantastic family, just thank God for their lives, they were more concerned with my attendance and whether I'd make an appearance at the next service rather than my general state. But that's why it's even crucial for all of us to have our own personal relationship with God and be strong in it and be able to encourage ourselves, as God is not man who will always let us down. But in that season, it was a time that I realized how many people must feel all over the world, when our greatest concern has been their attendance rather than establishing a genuine relationship and being around them regardless of whether they've been around for the past 4 Sundays. There's a song that goes, if they're looking for you, let them find you in me. And I can't sing, but what that really says is that our relationship with others could actually be the key to their salvation. And if somebody's looking at you, they should be able to see the embodiment of Christ. So really, let's spend time building relationships with people and allowing them to see Christ working through us, And one day, hopefully, they'll want to be more like us and also have their own relationships with Christ. In the beginning was this guy Word. He had a relationship with God, and in the end he became in true likeness of God. May that be a portion. This is me, away from the noise.